I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
We are the future, Charles, not them.
I'm kidding.
We're the X-Men, dated metaphor for racism in the 60s.
What's a Magneto? A very powerful mutant.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Enter the X-Verse, where we are going through every movie in the X-Men universe of movies. I am Kyle. I'm of course always as Jabla. I'm joined by Nathan.
Hello everyone, I will not mess up this intro because I'm full of energy.
No, you're very
I
good.
had
We skipped
Oreo
we skipped a
Coca-Cola.
week. So we're theoretically much more energetic.
I am, yes, we do nothing, we hibernate when we're not recording.
I think we did establish this as canon in a previous episode. I can't remember the context though. That you shut down entirely between episodes.
That's somewhere in the fan wiki. On Name Not Included episode 43, Nathan mentioned that he goes, oh yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But yes, and we are back and we are doing 2017's Logan.
We are. By James Mangold.
By James Mangold. Same director as The Wolverine.
Absolutely, returning talent.
Where to begin with Logan, right?
It loves that it's R-rated.
It's R-rated in a way that's actually like a movie for grown-ups, though, as opposed to R-rated in like that, haha, it's so goofy silly like Deadpool was last time.
Yes, Deadpool's like, can't believe it's getting away with it.
Yeah, there's a type of R-rated that's like actually for teenagers, and then there's a type of R-rated that's actually for adults.
Yes, and this is very much in the UK. This it isn't an 18, but you would say this would be an 18, but using that in allegory.
Mm-hmm. I will say though, okay, so I like this movie straight out. It's shocking, bizarre take. I'm sure that I like this movie.
Don't like it. This is too dark and grim for you.
Right. I will say people often talk about this movie like it's a step above the rest of the X-Men movies. Like,
right.
That it doesn't even count when people are talking about it.
Right.
I think this actually feels pretty in line with the rest of these movies. I watched this and I'm like, these are the same characters, this is the same kind of stuff. It's maybe got a bit of a more mature tone, but this still feels like an X-Men movie to me.
And that is an interesting take. Because I do think this movie is removed from the other films. They sort of faintly allude to this. Almost feels like it's set in the same universe as, well, I suppose it's set in the same universe as Deadpool, apparently, right? But it's like, you know how in Deadpool where you see, Colossus and you see Negasonic Teenage Warhead and they're at the X-Mansion, but everything kind of feels like it's in a pocket realm disconnected from the actual X-Men Prime, but it's very much in the X-Men world. That's kind of how this feels, because there's talks of the others are gone. There was maybe something that happened somewhere where a bunch of them died.
Well, they get pretty explicit as they can be about what happened. Professor X murdered them all.
Yeah, well, there's like a thing on the radio, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is from the Winchester incident that happened a decade ago or 2 years ago or whatever it was. At the Westchester, not Winchester. And yeah,
they all went to a spooky haunted house.
Yes, everything feels a couple places removed from the X-Men movies to me. Like, I think the core of the characters are still there, but like you say, the tone is just so violently different that I don't know
if it is that violent. It's more mature, but I don't think it's that different. I think at the end of the day, this is, if you look at this movie structurally on paper, this is the Wolverine again, except you replace love interest with daughter.
Who's Chuck?
I mean, Chuck's in there too, but Chuck's in there too, but he dies halfway through it. So like the core of the movie is
does he die at the halfway point? I'd say he was in like 2/3.
It's a long movie.
The difference between 1/2 and 2/3 isn't much, though.
Yeah. Point is, like, Logan, he has to go on this adventure. He's weaker than he usually is, just like he was in the Wolverine, because in that movie he loses his healing factor. In this movie he's losing his healing factor again.
Yeah.
He has to protect this younger woman figure who's wanted by a shady man in a suit.
Right.
and they have to go into the wilderness and survive. It's very, like, conceptually, it's the same movie again.
Well, what is it they say? There's only like 7 different stories, and it's how well can you tell the 7 different stories that exist. I'll grant you, you've definitely put it in a light I had not previously thought of. I think also, so have you seen this film before? How did you come to the movie, Kyle?
2 weeks ago when I watched it. That's
2 weeks ago when you
film.
watched it. Yes, you hadn't seen Logan. I think you're also coming at it with, you don't really partake much in the marketing hype around movies either, do you? You're coming at it outside of the fandom. That's what I would say. Also,
I mean, I have watched 13 previous movies at this point.
Well, yes,
so,
yes. But like you've watched them in a condensed period of time. See, with like the 17 years of build up of these comic book movies and the end of Hugh Jackman's run, and the marketing campaign loved its use of Johnny Cash singing "Hurt" and all that.
I mean, I am also watching this after Deadpool and Wolverine.
You are also watching it. Yeah, which was going to be the next thing that I brought up. There's a lot of sort of weight that was put on this movie at the time that's just no longer relevant, right?
Right, yeah.
And I think
I wondered about that because you're usually Mr. Sacrifices still count even if they're undermined later because it's about what the character was thinking in that moment, right?
Yes, correct.
So, are you fine with Deadpool using his adamantium skeleton to fight people while dancing?
Funny shit I ever
Does
saw.
that undermine?
Funny shit I ever saw. I'm fine with it. Why not? I think had it happened in Logan, I would have had a problem with it.
Well, yes, if Deadpool showed up in Logan, that would be quite weird.
See if the opening of Deadpool and Wolverine was, in fact, the post-credit of Logan, I think it would have been horribly disrespectful and horrifying, actually.
Yeah.
Again, with sort of like being removed from 2017 in time, like the context has kind of changed. Because I think, because something they said when they were doing Deadpool and Wolverine is that they were concerned about undermining the legacy of Logan, and that they promised that they weren't going to do that. And I think they had just hung a lantern on it and just done the over the top sort of, this is just bizarre disrespect. And then the actuality is, well, this is the Wolverine that we're actually having in that movie from a different timeline. Now, you could still argue, well, Hugh Jackman still returned, that his legacy, was at the end of Logan.
Yeah. Playing basically the same character as he was in this movie. Returning's
only a bad thing if you fuck up your legacy. I think Hugh Jackman still firmly has it where it counts. If he made another X-Men Origins with Deadpool and Wolverine, that's different, right? But if he's going to keep winning, I'm happy to let him stay winning,
Right.
I think that Logan didn't die in Logan going, but I'll be back soon, and, Deadpool 3, the search for more money. He genuinely thought that was it, The character and the actor, I do believe. Yeah, I have no criticisms for what Deadpool would go on to do, but for this movie, is what we're here to talk about. I think the death was actually, I remember watching it in the cinema going, oh my god, they're actually going to do it, because we didn't know they were going to kill him off. You could say maybe it feels pretty obvious, but at the time in the cinema, we didn't know.
I guess I'll have to take your word for that, because obviously going into this movie, I knew that everyone died at the end, right? So
you have years of just pop culture osmosis.
Yeah, as I have for most movies, just by existing in a pop culture space.
Who's the standout in this movie, Kyle?
That's a hard question, because there's a lot of extremely solid performances in this movie.
Well, why don't we go through the list if you don't have one, so sort of confidently out there, head and shoulders above the rest. We have our three mains, don't we?
Obviously, Hugh Jackman is killing it as always. It's not even a question.
Absolutely. He's sleeping in his limo at the start of this movie. After watching Deadpool and Wolverine, the limp claws dick joke's not as funny. Where I feel like that was a joke better placed for Deadpool. And having it in this movie in retrospect is just like, you're doing the Deadpool joke. But, he's really rough. He's sleeping in the limo. He's more concerned about the car getting damaged because that's his lifeline for making money than he is about himself getting shot, even though his healing factor isn't really working.
No, I mean, okay. First of all, I love this look of like the big beard in the suit. It's just it's a striking visual.
Yes, it is.
I like that he has his reading glasses and they stay consistent with that in the whole movie. Whenever he's reading something, he has to put on his little reading glasses.
Yeah, I like that he clearly got them from like a dollar store because they've got the little tag on them.
Yeah, no, this is clearly a Logan who he's not living his best life.
Yeah, this is a Logan that's really living on the edge because he's looking after a weapon of mass destruction.
Yes, all of that stuff it's interesting, and I really like this dystopia that they've created for this movie, where it's not apocalyptic at all. Like, this isn't like a wasteland they're in. It's just a sort of kind of shitty future.
Yes, lots of automation. He's having to go to and fro the border. I actually want. I mean, I know I'm saying that this was like a different universe. This literally very well could be the Westchester universe that we're lovingly familiar with of the previous films, where that leafy suburban manor house up north does exist, but you're just so far removed from it down here, you know, at the borders. Because he's got to go south of the border where Charles is safe from authorities, I think.
I think he's doing his limo driving stuff in Mexico, so I think Charles is still in America. I don't think they're in Mexico.
Why does he cross the border then?
Easier money, I guess.
Oh, you think he gets his drugs in the US? Because he has to get he has to get Charles's medication.
I think when we see him doing his work, I think he's in Mexico, because remember he has like the American frat boys and they're shouting like, "Oh, America, USA, USA,"
yes,
and stuff like that.
True.
I think that is in Mexico.
It is. I think maybe it is more dystopia than I'm giving it credit for. I'm really flip-flopping here because I just remembered that in this universe, there's been no New Mutants in 25 years, Kyle.
Yes, which is a thing they drop in. Well, it is a plot point later, but this movie the movie's never trying to trick you into thinking it's in any of the pre-established timelines. It just sort of hints at things that may have happened. Like, they mention the Statue of Liberty at one point, which is obviously X1.
Yep, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, and I guess Logan says they have X-Men comic books, and he says that they're not what actually happened. They're like exaggerations of the things that actually happened.
Yeah, he's like, maybe some of it happened, and it was not like this, you know?
Mm-hmm. This does get to a plot point which I don't understand, which we'll get to. But
right, okay, that's fine. But yeah, so he's really on the edge with mutants sort of disappearing from the world. He's very old. The X-Men don't exist anymore, and he's caring for an elderly and infirm Charles Xavier, who's had to flee the US.
Who is absolutely killing it in this movie.
Patrick Stewart is goated in this film. I think he's the standout.
He's really good.
Such a good interpretation of this character while still being Charles Xavier.
Yes, that's what I love about it. Like, he's clearly, this is the worst we've ever seen Charles at. Like, he murdered the X-Men, he's losing his brain, he's basically, like, he's on the run, and he's stuck with Logan, who hates him. but
loves him enough
his
to
core, he's still
through it with him.
But he's still an X-Man at his core, you know? He still wants to be a good man and help people.
Yes, because he wants to help this girl, Laura, that he's speaking to, even though, like, Logan's thrown him into this old water tower that's fallen over. Like silo, because it's almost like an anti-cerebro. Instead of used to amplify his powers, it's there to, like, just sort of reflect his powers back at him.
Yes.
But it's got holes in it, it's rusted.
It's not entirely... He has some sort of... I think it's supposed to be dementia, is what he has.
Yes, it has.
Yeah. So he has some
seizures.
sort of medication that suppresses his powers.
But it's like when he has a seizure, if he's not on his medication, it completely freaks like it freezes everyone and like suffocates them.
Yes it does. Which is, it's very upsetting for this character, because it's the last thing you would ever want.
Yeah, it is absolutely like the person whose power is the power of the brain to have their brain turn on them, you know?
Yeah.
And then what does
It's horrifying.
When you have a fit, what does that manifest as to the people around you when your brain powers are projected? And that is that happy end of Days of Future Past timeline. Everyone's dead now.
Yep.
Oh, Cyclops.
Well, okay. Yeah, I don't think this is the Days of Future Past ending.
No, I know, but just like thinking of it in film continuity.
Yeah.
Everyone got their happy ending and everyone's dead again.
Yep. These things happen.
But we're trying to get a Sunseeker, aren't we? To take Charles out into the middle of the ocean.
Yes, they have this fantasy about a boat, yes.
He's like, I can get you the money for it right now because we need to go now because, what's his face? Mr. Met Alarm. Donald Pierce.
Yes.
What's his name? Holbrook, the actor? Boyd Holbrook?
Boyd Holbrook, yes.
Yeah, they're looking for Charlie. They're actually not looking for a young girl, but they know that Charles is there.
Yes. Well, there's a surprise third mutant living with them as well.
There is. Well, not for me, but yes, for you. I did mention this person would return, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Not the same actor or the same personality in any way, but it is Caliban.
Caliban from X-Men Apocalypse.
X-Men Apocalypse.
Instead of some weird Eastern European underground mutant runner.
Who always refers to himself in the third person.
Yeah.
Now it's Stephen Merchant.
It's now just Stephen Merchant. I think giving a wonderful performance.
Oh yeah, it's a very weird thing. Stephen Merchant, usually just a comedy man, right? And this isn't really a comedy role. Like, he does do some Stephen Merchant-y bits, but mostly he's just being a normal man.
He's just being incredibly straight with Logan. He's like, well, you asked me to help you out a year ago, and I've tried, but, like, you're not talking to me, you're not communicating with me.
I love that, like, they're an old married couple.
Yeah, he's, like, doing the ironing of the suits and stuff. Then he, like, gives him medication that he says is for Charles that isn't enough, and he's like proving he's going blind because he's like, I just handed you like
aspirin
or something like that. Yeah, he's Logan's sitting there putting cinnamon whiskey into his coffee.
Got
a few
this movie's miserable.
Movie is miserable. Yeah, we've got a few sly product placements in this movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
we got a Kellogg's cornflakes and Fireball cinnamon whiskey, both in the exact same shot.
That's classy stuff.
It's a classy combination. Instead of milk, you want to put some Fireball cinnamon whiskey in with your Kellogg's cornflakes.
You know what I like about it being Caliban, though, is it's because it's so random. It's just like, he just happens to be one of the mutants who's still alive because he wasn't an X-Man.
Yeah, he's just like somebody that maybe Logan's had runnings in with in the past, and he is just he wasn't killed by Charles's freak out. The government haven't got him, and he's just there, you know. Mm-hmm. Now, he does have utility to the plot, though, in that his power is he can sniff out mutants.
Yes, very conveniently. His power is that he can detect mutants.
Apparently, he used to work for Boyd Holbrook and the gang.
Yes, they do sort of indicate that's why so many mutants are dead, is because he helped them murder a bunch of mutants.
Yes, absolutely.
So, bad on you, Stephen Merchant.
Bad on you, Stephen Merchant. You're responsible. Logan, in their little water tower hideaway rust bucket home, still has his ninja sword from the Wolverine up on the wall.
I didn't notice that, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I noticed it up on the wall. I'm very happy with myself when I saw it, because I've actually not really seen many, because this feels, you might say structurally it's similar to the Wolverine, but tonally and colour grading and sets, it's so different visually to the
Well, it's
Wolverine.
Not in Japan, that's a big one.
Oh, yes, I'll grant you that. But to see all little things like that, I'm like, oh, this does feel like actually maybe the Wolverine happened in the same universe.
Yeah, I think I can buy this as a continuation of the first three movies. I can believe that the first three movies and the Wolverine happened in this universe.
Okay.
And this isn't the universe where everything was reset in Days of Future Past, where, like, maybe Professor X killed all the X-Men, but Jean Grey was already dead, right? And Scott, yeah. So Professor X killed Storm and a bunch of nameless people we don't know.
And Beast.
And Iceman.
And Quicksilver and Nightcrawler.
Not Quicksilver, he wasn't in those movies.
Oh, he was at the end of Days of Future Past, but I'm forgetting that he wasn't actually in those first three movies, yeah.
No. But yeah, I can buy that, and obviously it's like, it's a sad end for all those characters, but also we already have another timeline when they're all fine, so who cares, right? Let's do a depressing thing for this one. I think that's
kind of what that line that Logan gives about maybe some of it happened, maybe none of it did, but not like this. It's like this timeline's a mess, and they're all just different stories at the end of the day.
It's the same thing as Deadpool, but not a joke, right?
Yes, exactly.
These timelines are so confusing. Yeah.
Exactly. But there's no TVA here. That's just, these are all stories, and that's the end of it.
Well, yeah, this is going to make absolutely no sense when we get to Deadpool and Wolverine, but let's just not think about that.
What would the TVA have to say about all these timelines?
Everything and nothing, right? Because time travel.
So Wolverine, one of his jobs is taking people through like funerals. He's like a car hire, and this nurse keeps coming up to him in different places. It's like, you got to take my daughter, you know?
Yes.
And the daughter is Laura, X-23, Daphne Keane, breakout star from this movie.
First ever acting role, right?
Yeah, first big
Which
breakout acting role.
It's insane because she's amazing in this.
She's really good in this, non-verbal for half of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously we'd go on to see her in The Acolyte.
Yes, that's true.
Where she is swiftly taken out by
Spoilers.
Smiler Ren. Yeah, absolutely. Then obviously,
it's okay. The Acolyte was cancelled. We're never going to see these characters again. It's fine.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Maybe there'll be a comic book that we will not read.
I'll give you the Cliff's Notes, which I also get from the wiki.
And then obviously returning for Deadpool and Wolverine, which they spoiled in a fucking trailer the day or so before the film came out. I think they didn't want to give away their cameos like Wesley Snipes and shit, but they were like, let's show that there are cameos, let's show Daphne Keane. I was so disappointed. That was I think the Deadpool and Wolverine marketing campaign was really strong, actually. I think that was their one misstep.
Right.
You, who doesn't watch trailers though, completely unfazed by all of this, I assume.
Well, also, I hadn't seen this movie yet, so it didn't mean much to me.
Oh, you're like, oh, it's that girl from that movie I haven't seen.
Oh, hey, it's that lady from The Acolyte.
Yeah. Very true, actually, yeah. This girl has similar powers to Wolverine X-23, doesn't she?
Well, she has the same powers.
Yes, she has regen powers. She has adamantium claws in her feet as well as her hands, but they're just 2 claws.
Yes, because she's a female, apparently. Charles gives us this little information.
Yes. It's about guarding the young and kicking people from behind you.
Yeah, apparently. Okay, sure.
I can believe it if it takes place in nature, you know. Since when have the X-Men movies not tried to compare Wolverine to animals, you know? Like,
I mean, yeah.
It's perfectly within the feasibility of the world. Though I'm pretty sure that the adamantium is only grafted to her claws. I think that's a thing that I've read somewhere.
I did have questions about this because otherwise, like, she's a small child. What's going to happen when she grows up?
Yeah, she's just going to, like, crush herself.
I mean, truly that would also happen with the claws, but, like, I guess we're not going to worry about that.
She's going to have really stunted claws. Like, when she's a fully grown adult, she has small claws. I honestly can't even really remember her claws in Deadpool and Wolverine. I feel like she just punched everyone. I know she had them, but
she has the claws. Yeah. She does some stabbing. She has a surprisingly small role in Deadpool and Wolverine, considering. But
this is probably a discussion for Deadpool and Wolverine. They'll bring it up then. But I wouldn't be surprised if for the MCU going forward, their intention is to not recast Wolverine and just use Daphne Keane's X-23 in the Wolverine slot and just keep Hugh Jackman around as like a elder statesman sort type person, and he will just continue to be Wolverine. But it doesn't need to work out.
I have no idea what their plan is for X-Men and the MCU. I really thought they'd have done more with it by now, to be honest, but they're really holding off on any X-Men stuff.
We got Kelsey Grammer, baby.
But that was a different universe, and we got the end of Miss Marvel where it goes na-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah, because fucking Kevin Feige loves the animated theme, and I think they should use the one from these movies. Anyway, so she's great in it, and everyone's very scared of her because she's like the most dangerous mutant or something.
There is a thing where he's like, why are you shooting at her? She's bulletproof. You're just wasting bullets.
Yeah, you're just wasting bullets. We should talk about the adamantium being the thing that's partly responsible for killing Logan. Like, it's starting to break down in his body.
Yes.
Why is his regen factor not fighting it off? Deadpool could do it. Deadpool can fight off cancer every second of his life.
I think he's also just sick, isn't he? Like, I think that's part of it too. Like, he's coughing throughout the whole movie. I think he has some sort of illness.
Yeah, I thought it was because of that. I thought it was just being poisoned because of the adamantium.
I think it's a combination of both. I think it's like these two things are contributing to his declining health.
Yeah, or possible it'll never kill him, it will just keep him incredibly ill until maybe the adamantium eventually filters out of his body. That might take 100 years, and then like he'll be fine again.
I don't know. We're questioning the logic of magic super healing. I don't think it matters.
This is the shit I live for, Kyle. I like thinking about, well, what's this actually outside of the confines of this movie, but as like a person in their life, how would it affect them, you know?
Well, there's a lot of other things I see in this movie. Obviously, like, I've already mentioned the Wolverine. The other big one that this really reminds me of is The Last of Us, obviously.
Yes, this movie in a lot of ways preempted that kind of thing. I guess The Last of Us came out before this did.
Yeah, Last of Us is like 2013, isn't
it?
it?
Yeah, it is.
The Last of Us kicked off this entire genre of old man has to protect young child.
Yeah,
through dangerous wilderness.
The thing that this movie loves to draw its parallels to is Shane.
Is what?
Shane, the cowboy movie from the 1950s. There ain't no more guns in the valley.
Is that what they're watching? I had no idea what that was.
Yeah, it's an old movie from the 50s. I've seen it before, actually. My granddad, when I was younger, he used to love watching old movies, John Wayne movies and such. This isn't a John Wayne movie, but those old cowboy movies, the kind. This is one of them. Yeah. So I've seen a bunch of these growing up. This is one of them. Ain't no more guns in the valley is a fairly famous phrase, though,
I mean, I've never heard it before.
Had you never heard of it?
For it? No.
Crazy. Ain't no more guns. That's like a thing. That's almost like seen as a trope in a lot of cases. But this movie directly, this is a part I've read into it. James Mangold, very big fan of Shane. I think it's a great movie. And it's no accident that he's found a way to include that into this movie. That's one of the things that Laura says when she's giving Logan's eulogy at the end of the film.
Well, I guess I wanted to bring attention, because we were jumping around, but you mentioned Nurse Lady, Gabriella, I think her name is.
Yeah.
She gets killed off screen.
Yeah, she does.
There's a couple things like that where things happen off screen in this movie where it doesn't feel like we missed something. It just feels like, oh, Logan wasn't there, so we don't get to see it. If that makes sense. Where usually when something happens off screen, it's annoying because, we should have seen that. But here it has some impact because Logan was too late and he missed it.
Yeah, so it's all to do with Logan's inability to be an effective hero.
Yes, because he picks up the phone and she's in the middle of texting, they're here. Yes. But she didn't get to send the message.
Exactly. What they didn't not show it because it was a mistake of filming, then they're editing around that. It's deliberately included within the film. It's here's a shot of him picking up a phone, of her texting, they're here as she died,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and apparently she edited together this long video of her investigation just for Wolverine.
All of this footage is not hers. There's so many things that Richard E. Grant would have noticed the phone.
Or when she's pushing a car and there's clearly a camera in it recording things.
Yeah, it's a bit. Some of this footage has got to be from other people. I'm just forced to believe that. Imagine her walking around with this little.
Well, there was all the nurses kind of had a little revolution by the looks of it.
Yes,
it wasn't just her.
Because all of these kids are part of the X-23 program, and
yes,
the Weapon X program has been going on for ages since Wolverine, and X-23 is all these kids, and then they crack the case with X-24, and decide,
if they say so.
Well, in terms of having a field unit, they did, and they want to dispose of all the kids. They want to kill them all, and then the nurses that have been raising them have decided that they were not going to let these kids die, and that's where they try and evacuate them all to coordinates from an X-Men comic, Kyle.
Eden, yes, this is the plot point I had mass confusion about.
I had a feeling.
Why? Okay, Nathan, you're reading your comics as you do, and you see. There's this location. Why the actual hell would they put the literal, geo-coordinates into the comic book like that?
So I think that, in the case of, in the comic book, they are just random GPS coordinates.
Why?
Because you're making a comic, right, about insert story here, something called Eden in this case. And then for just shits and giggles, part of the artwork, you're just writing in random GPS coordinates. They don't need to actually relate to anything. They could take to the middle of the Pacific. And they just happen, in this case, to be GPS coordinates that take you to North Dakota.
Right, to a little,
a little...
It's like a watch, it's like a Firewatch tower.
Yeah, exactly, right? My favourite indie game ever. And that's just by complete sheer coincidence and luck. The actual real Eden X-Men mission that happened 20 years ago could have been anywhere in the world. This is just random GPS coordinates. Now you could say, oh, that's awfully convenient that it happens to be in the US and just south of the Canadian border. But sure,
Well, that's the second. Why does an adult grown woman believe this is a thing?
Well, I think it's just like a rally point. They're like, we need to have a way for everyone here in our little resistance thing to have a rally point. And we know that in Canada, these kids will be safe because of legislation that doesn't exist in America.
Canada's a mutant safe haven, apparently.
It is. Yeah, that's why you're there, you freak.
How dare you? How dare you expose my mutations this way?
Listen, I've been on 4chan. I know what they're saying about you. I know what they have to say, right? And I believe them.
Yeah.
And there's no fucking you better stay in your little North Idaho.
Yeah, because 4chan is a bastion of truth and knowledge, as we all know.
Well, they're calling it the last bastion of free speech, right?
Right. Yeah. Actually, I think that's Truth Social. That's the bastion of free speech.
That's what they call a megaphone. So
Richard E. Grant actually has 10,000 followers on Truth Social. Don't know if you know that.
No, you doing a bit?
Yes, I'm doing a bit.
Oh, you froze me there. I was like, wait, what? What do I not know?
Do we need to cancel Richard E. Grant? Oh,
yeah. No. He actually is Mr. Sinister. So, or what the hell was his name? Because apparently his father worked on the Weapon X project back in the 80s.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name is.
I've got it in my notes here somewhere.
You know what I like about Richard E. Grant and to a lesser extent the other guy is they're just guys. They're not like supervillains. They're just completely banal,
his name
evil
was
people.
Rice.
Dr. Rice.
Yeah.
He's just a prick, right? He's not some big, larger than life supervillain. He's just like, oh yeah, I removed all the mutants because they were bad for business, you know.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he kind of says it with like a smile on his face. It's like, oh yeah, you know, that's just how we do the things. You know, a little bit of genocide now and then.
Capitalism, the real villain of the piece.
Capitalism is the real villain of the piece. You see those automated trucks going down the highway?
Yeah, the film had time
My goodness.
The film had time to talk about that, yeah.
I think, like, in terms of representing stuff that might be in the future, when's this movie set? 2029?
Yeah, 2029.
I think this movie crosses a better line than most. I can see most of the stuff in this movie, like, I can imagine that being the case in 5 years.
Yeah, self-driving trucks that don't actually really work that well if there's manual drivers on the road.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I think they mentioned that all of the farming equipment is automated as well, right? It's these big machines.
This is what the right wing talk about, and they mention 15-minute cities, right? You make the highway too dangerous for normal people to drive on because of automation. And then bang, you're stuck with every single household amenity that you could ever want being 10 minutes outside your door because you can't go in the motorway.
What a tragedy.
What a tragedy. Yeah, exactly right. Your local supermarket 5 minutes away because the highway is too dangerous because it's an auto highway. Oh, you know, gotta be careful out there. But this is where we kind of meet like a better version of the Justice League Russian family.
Yes, we meet a family who's too nice to be in this movie, so you know they're all going to die.
Yeah, but Logan stands up for them.
Is this before or after the Las Vegas stuff? I think this is after the Las Vegas stuff,
yeah, this
right?
is after because Charles is not long for this world after that. Right, so why don't we talk about the Las Vegas stuff first then, right? So we all drive away. Donald Pierce, Boyd Holbrook, has taken Caliban. Laura has killed a bunch of people. She gets into Logan and Charles's limo and they get the hell out of there.
Should mention too, action scenes in this movie are fucking great.
The action scenes in this movie are over the top, apart from one ugly CGI fence.
Yeah, there is a weird CGI fence, but I love the way that Laura fights like a little wild cat.
Yes, well, I think definitely intentional.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I love the shot where Wolverine
brutal.
Slashes down people and then he's leaned forward. Laura sort of jumps up and over his back.
Oh yeah, they're 10 out of 10 on teamwork right out of the gate.
Absolutely.
There's the part where he drives past and she jumps onto the roof of the car and stuff like that.
Amazing stuff, right? And this whole time, Chuck is in the back, just kind of looking around vaguely, going, "Oh my God, Laura, look out!" Because he could just end this all by freezing everyone one movie prior to this.
I think he's on his drugs at the moment. At that point.
Yeah. No, I know. One movie prior to this, I wouldn't trust him to use his powers in this state. No, but remember, he hasn't been taking his drugs. Remember, Kyle, that was the twist.
I think I think he's taking them at that point. Later in the movie, he stops taking them.
Right, because he's not taking them for a while, apparently. And when they're leaving Las Vegas, Logan forces him to take them. It's like, and Charles does a, see, my mouth is empty, I swallowed them.
Yes.
But we're going to Las Vegas, and we're going to get some money, and we're going to stay in a hotel room overnight. It looks like this boat is further and further away than it ever was. This nurse, before she died, promised Logan a lot of money. She'd pay $45,000 now, and the rest when you get to her friends up north, right? And it was a lie. But Charles has forced Logan to do it anyway because someone is in need, right? Because this is what he does.
Because they're X-Men, goddammit.
Because they're X-Men, goddammit, right? Exactly, right? They don't have the uniforms, but they got the heart. At least Charles still does. And they're going up to Vegas. They've crossed the border, and they get new clothes, and
they're all looking fly.
Charles has his priorities in order, and he gets a little. What's he get? A hat, not a fedora.
He gets a little trilby. You know what he's channeling? He's channeling Magneto with that hat.
Yes, channeling Magneto. Channeling Fassbender Magneto specifically.
I wonder what happened to Magneto in this universe. That's something we'll never know.
Yeah, I suppose he did. He moved a chess piece at the end of X3, didn't he? Yeah, so
he showed up at the end of the Wolverine.
Of course he did, yeah. And that went into Days of Your Past timeline. But yeah.
Is this a funnier follow up from that post credit than Days of Future Past?
Dark things are coming, Wolverine. And it just Patrick Stewart killed everyone.
Well, if that's the next cutaway from the scene. Oh yes, Charles, he murdered all the X-Men. I thought we should let you know.
I just came to let you know that everyone's dead now.
I know you had this. It's good that you had this whole moral about moving on from your past and learning to live your own life because all your other friends are dead now.
Yeah, you've come back for nothing. Go back to Yukio. Because she wasn't in this post-credit scene. So we got some drip, and this is where a little scene that I quite like is where Chuck starts to tell Laura about film history, and this is where he says that this movie is almost 100 years old, even though it's only 2029, and Shane is from 1953, right? And he's like, I saw this movie at the cinema when he was young. I like it when characters in movies sort of talk about movies. I don't know, I just enjoy that.
Because you're a movie snob, that's why.
Yeah, because I'm a movie snob, yeah, exactly, right. And they're having a nice little time. During this time, Logan goes out to buy a truck because the limo is no longer fit for purpose. And then he's got an hour to kill because they're sorting out tires for the truck. So he goes to the bar.
Yeah, so we have our classic Logan in a bar scene.
Yeah,
that's how you know this is an X-Men movie, because we have a shot where Logan is in a bar and then at the end he's running through the woods in a white tank top. Yeah. That's all you need in an X-Men movie.
Well, when he's using his cheap glasses, this is where he's reading the X-Men comics about Eden. And he's sort of reminiscing about old times. It doesn't matter that it's not real. It's almost like an idealized version of what him and the X-Men used to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I kind of just like these quieter moments in the movie.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean when I say this is a movie actually made for grown-ups, is that it has scenes that are just allowed to be quiet, where it's just about reflection and people talking, and there's not this pressure that everything has to be funny, there has to be quips all the time, it has to be action. That's what more grown-up filmmaking is. It's letting stuff be boring, in quotation marks.
Well, Kyle, I hate to undercut you, but this scene's interrupted by Xavier having a meltdown in the hotel room.
Yes, it is. Which is also a great scene, to be fair.
Yeah, so Logan heads back to the hotel, and as he's in the outside parking lot waiting for his car to be valeted away, everything just seizes up. He sees that there's goon cars outside, and he goes in and he's stabbing through the walls as he goes, as he gets closer and closer, which what I thought was quite horrifying during this, when everyone's sort of frozen in position, is that if you're strong enough like Laura or Logan, you can still kind of move around during it all, but all the regular military mercenaries, their eyes work fine, so they can still see around, and they're watching.
Yeah, you see him just watch Logan getting closer to him.
Exactly, right? And Logan's just killing everyone.
Oh yeah, well, no mercy, right?
No mercy. This is a Wolverine version of A Time in a Bottle.
Yes.
Right? So we get everyone out of there, because when time resumes and Charles takes his medication, everyone just drops to the ground.
Yeah, and they're going through the casino, and he's like, with his old voice, like, I'm so sorry. I didn't want any of this to happen. It's really bad. You really feel for him.
Yes, absolutely. I feel really bad for him, but this is where we get the mention of the Westchester incident a year ago that took the lives of 7 mutants and injured a lot of other people. So the 7 mutants that were killed are probably our principal X-Men cast.
Yeah, that is the implication.
Yeah. So at this point, this is where we meet our family that were driven off the side of the road, Kel.
Yes.
And
they only stop because Charles is like, we should help these people, because
Logan says
that's what we do.
Logan says someone will come along, and Charles says, well, someone has come along. We are those people, you know? So they get out to help, and the family ask them back for dinner. He says, this is my daughter Laura, and that's my dad Chuck in the car.
Yes, this is why Nathan has been calling him Chuck the whole movie.
I think it's just great. I think the chemistry is so sincere and genuine, and everything passes, you know? Like, even Charles knows not to be so affronted by being called Chuck. He just sort of gives a friendly wave when he's called Chuck. Because I forgot, really, I don't know why I forgot, but when you first see Charles in this movie, he's like insane. He's like running around in his wheelchair in the water dome, sort of just screaming to the heavens and about how much he hates Caliban.
Yeah, but for the rest of the movie, he mellows out, and he basically becomes more and more Professor X as the movie goes along.
He does, absolutely. I think it's all to do with the medication.
Because Laura, It's because he's on a mission again, I think. It's like he's coming back into focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We go back to the farmhouse, which apparently has been big industry farmers have taken over the land around them. And they're cutting their water supply to their last bastion of, you know, small town farming. Mm-hmm. And Logan goes out to help them. And Logan's like their muscle and starts like beating up the
a bunch of rednecks come along to be like, you're stealing our water.
Yeah. So, you know, Wolverine's like, I've seen a lot of guns in my time. Like, I know what's in that gun. He snaps it in half and he's like, get out, get lost. But during this, before they leave, they're having this lovely dinner scene where they talk about how Charles used to run a private school for troubled kids. And Logan used to go to that school, didn't he? Because he was talking about how the kid and the family that's invited him for dinner doesn't like doing his homework. He says, you better watch out, 'cause you're speaking to a headmaster who used to run a school. And it's just, it's just one of the standout scenes in the movie. I wish this scene just would never end, you know?
Well, it's too good to be true, isn't it? It's like, the whole point.
The lighting is golden warm. They're just, everyone's smiling. It's just, they're just talking. They're having a nice time. Mm-hmm. And given how this movie started with them hiding out in rusted water towers in the desert and explosions and dead nurses and seizures that are causing everyone to freeze in place, this scene is just magical. And they give Charles a proper bed for the night. I
always appreciate it. And like, you talk about like dark and grim dark futures and all that. I think that kind of future always works better when there is still good people in it as well. And I think this movie hits a good line with that. There's a part later where Laura takes Logan to a doctor, and he's just like a normal doctor man who's like, oh, you should really get that seen. I can help you out with that. You know, like he's not... Yeah. It's just a sincere guy. And I think that makes the world feel more real.
Logan says to him, if you want to save a life, pretend you never saw us because we'll get you killed.
Yeah.
Logan's pretty stressed out, which is fair enough considering what's about to happen.
Yes.
So when he goes out to help Farmer Dad Man go get the water supply back on, or the power generator, or whatever it happens to be back on, X-24, this creature, has been released into the field by Dr. Rice and Boy Holbrook. And we cut back to the house, and Laura is sitting listening to music that the kid gave him, the family kid gave her. And Patrick Stewart's lying in bed, sort of speaking to who he thinks is Logan. It's like, you know, I think after all this time, I've just finally started to realise kind of who you are, you know, and how that, but it's not too late for you, Logan, to have this life in this house. Like, this could be you. Like, it's not over for you. And then just as he's saying this hand comes down to Patrick Stewart's chest, Chuck's chest, Professor X's chest, God damn it. And he gets stabbed by some adamantium claws, doesn't he?
And he looks up and it's Logan, but not quite. Dun.
Not quite. not quite. It's a slightly younger, more angry-looking Logan.
I think this would have been an insane twist if I didn't know it was already a thing in the movie.
This is the problem with coming to films years later, right?
As I know that part of this movie is there's a young clone of Wolverine. Which, to be honest, I think it works really well for this scene. I think if X-24 had just died in that scene, I would have been fine with it. I don't think he needed to show up again.
The thing is, though, I think that would feel really Wolverine
Weird.
Ex Machina
Sure,
kind of thing, like evil Wolverine.
Uh-huh.
I think having longevity in the film sort of justifies the presence. I think the effect looks great, though. So he kills the kid, and then he kills the mum who's got the shotgun. And Wolverine goes upstairs and looks at all this horrific nature of what's just happened. Patrick Stewart's somehow still alive.
Yeah, well, I don't know how.
But as he's going up the stairs, he sort of freezes in place when he sees this young version of him coming down the stairs with Laura sort of chained up. And the effect just is seamless. You don't see any cutouts or anything like that. It just looks perfect.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just makeup or if there's CGI on the de-aging, but it's not something you think about while watching.
No, yeah, not at all. I actually think it's probably just a lot of practical makeup, to be honest with you, because I think they actually made Hugh Jackman look older for Logan.
I was going to say that, yeah. They definitely, I don't think he's naturally that great in real life, is he?
No, he's not at all. He's not at all. I think he looks more akin to what we see in the Deadpool movie, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a combo of this movie both aging him up and down to make that work.
Exactly, which is quite a smart decision, right? So we get up the stairs, we take him back out to the truck because we're like, we've got to get out of here. And Patrick Stewart has one last little moment with the real Logan. And it's like, look, because he can feel the tub of the truck on his back and to his left and his right. And he's like, this is like we're on the hull of a ship. This is our sun surfer, you know? We made it onto the boat. And then he dies.
Yep.
F. Professor Charles Chuck Xavier.
Yep. Of course, he also gets to come back in future movies because no one's ever really gone.
No one's ever really gone.
Remember when he gets his neck snapped by Wanda?
Yeah, he does. But we don't need to talk about that just now because unlike Wolverine coming back in a substantial role that mattered in Deadpool and Wolverine, I think you can see that as like a SNL skit, you know? I don't need to take that too seriously.
He got to share screen time with Captain Carter, Nathan.
And John Krasinski's Captain Fantastic. Fantastic.
Captain Fantastic. And of course, Anson Mount's Blackadar Bolt of Gun.
Yeah. What a bizarre and Ultron bots. What a crazy film.
Honestly, no, not that crazy a film at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, what I happened to be watching, we were recording this just after I've watched the first 2 episodes of Agatha all along. Which
I've not seen it yet, by the way, so.
Right, okay. We can't talk about it, but, you know, the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness being the last time we saw Wanda, it's all relevant, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is the end for Patrick Stewart, really in a substantial way, unlike, because I won't count that in Doctor Strange, I refuse to count it.
Yeah, sure.
But I will count Hugh Jackman for Deadpool. Just wonderful stuff from Charles, from Patrick Stewart. And then we're having a big fight. And Caliban's still kind of been in and out of this movie, kind of helping them reluctantly, because he's like a vampire, he can't get caught in the sun.
Yes, they torture him with sunlight.
Yeah, and Boyd Holbrook keeps telling him, like, beware the light. And now this is where Caliban has his moment to shine. Because he literally...
He does the self-sacrifice play, which I didn't think he was going to do, but, you know, good on him, I guess.
He literally has his time to shine because he says... He takes the pins out of some grenades, Kyle, and says, beware the light, as he drops them on the ground in front of him. It doesn't kill anyone, though, I don't think.
I think he kills some goods, but Boyd Holbrook is fine.
Yeah, exactly, right. I guess it kind of throws Dr. Rice kind of into disarray because he can't now get moving. And X-24 kind of isn't really listening to him.
Yes, so the deal with X-24 is he's basically like, he's like a dog, basically, where he only responds to his master.
Yes, but always not kind of.
Yeah, he's a loose cannon.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think Richard E. Grant, he has some line about like, oh, you can't manufacture rage, you have to, you're born, or something like that.
It's like you have to nurture it.
Yeah.
So...
Do you think they have clones of all the other X-Men?
Oh, I hope so.
Is there Is there a clone of Halle Berry there
But
in one
remember,
of the cages?
we supposedly got this DNA at the end of X-Men Apocalypse. Remember the post-credit scene there?
Yes, but something they draw attention to is, spoilers, there's a bunch of other kids in this movie who are all mutants as well, and they all have clearly, like, this is the Iceman, and this is the Jean Grey, and this is that, right?
They probably harvested their bodies from the Westchester incident because their kids are older than a year old. Oh, I don't know where they got all that DNA from. Oh, I mean, they did take a bunch of the kids in X-Men Apocalypse, to be fair.
Yeah, I suppose.
They didn't get an Iceman back then.
Are we counting? I don't think X-Men Apocalypse counts in this universe.
I mean,
just
what's
don't.
that post-credit scene is for a reason at the end of that movie.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I tell you what, it's got nothing to do with Dark Phoenix, I'll tell you that much.
I could have guessed.
I understand the post-credit scenes are things that are like studio mandates as opposed to creative passions, but
yeah,
that was a studio mandated post-credit scene.
Well,
so...
the entire Wolverine sequence of that movie was a studio mandate.
Yeah, absolutely. Sell for Logan, baby! But yeah, so we get Laura back from X-24 because he drops her to just slice all those goons that came from the farm earlier in the movie. And we get away, and we go to bury Charles, and Logan does it in complete silence, and then goes out to the road to just leave Laura basically at the side of the road. Pretty dark and grim moment.
I don't know if he just beats the shit out of a truck.
No, he tries to start the engine that won't start. So he gets out of the car and lifts up the hood, and then starts beating the shit out of it. And he's like screaming and screaming and screaming. And then he just passes out, and then this is where Laura gets him into the truck, and...
Because apparently Laura knows how to drive.
Apparently knows how to drive, How does Michael Myers know how to drive, We don't know.
Does Michael Myers know how to drive?
Yeah, this is a thing from, like, the first Halloween movie, Kyle. When he breaks out of the insane asylum in the very first Halloween movie, Dr. Loomis is coming to visit him. And it's a storm, rainy night, and the security systems are down. And he basically breaks into a car and just drives off into the night. But
Michael Myers is an adult, right?
Yeah, but he's been in a mental institution since he was like 8 years old.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Right? And this is...
At least Laura has seen other people driving before.
Yeah, right? I mean, listen, it's a horror movie from the 1970s, and it's just sort of, this is... You can say a lot of things about Halloween, you can't say it ain't got longevity. It's not exactly a crippling detail, but it is one of those things people like to bring up for the yucks. But Laura takes him to a vet because, again, animal things.
Is it a vet? I thought it was just like a sort of.
Oh no, it wasn't
clinic.
A vet. Sorry, it wasn't a vet.
Yeah,
it was an urgent care clinic.
Clinic in a small town.
Yeah, an urgent care clinic. I apologise. This is me getting too much into my animal things. And also in gangster movies, you take the gangster that's on the run to a vet.
This is where we meet small town nice doctor man who's like, "Oh, I always wanted to meet someone like you.
You're one of those heroes, aren't you?"
Mm-hmm.
See those harpoon cannons they're using to like get mutants sort of bogged down?
Yeah.
Are they adamantium tipped? How are they going through?
I guess they must be, because they go through Logan.
Yeah, exactly, right.
That's slightly later. We finally make it to Eden, and all of the kids are there, and I guess every single nurse died. All the nurses died.
All the nurses died, yeah. There are no adults alive. This is like Gulliver's Island, what's it called?
Gilligan's Island?
Gilligan's
That's
Island.
Not the kids one.
Here we go.
Gilligan is mad. You're thinking of, the Flies, Lord of the Flies.
Sure, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Why not? Go for that.
Yeah, it's a kid nation, but obviously this is a very mature movie. When it's the end of the movie, Logan has to protect a bunch of children.
Yeah, one of the kids has a Wolverine doll, which is very comics accurate to, I guess, the comics that exist in this universe, but feels very tonally out of place. More like it should exist.
This is also when, 2 hours into the movie, we reveal that Laura can talk, which is a bold choice, I think.
Yeah, well, she does that in the car because Wolverine's getting more progressively annoyed when he comes out of the urgent care clinic that she won't talk, and then she starts ranting in Spanish to him. Which is, I think, is very funny because he's like, all right, shut up. He starts screaming at her to shut up. Like, it's a really interesting relationship.
Obviously their relationship is the core of the movie, and I think it just works. I think there's a lot of nuance to it. I think it's really interesting to see it unfold. It's good.
No, it's really good stuff. These kids have vials of the stuff that X-24 takes to heal. But they're like, in small doses, this will help you heal, Logan, this will make you feel better, but don't take it all at once, because it can basically make your heart explode, essentially. It's like just pure mega healing adrenaline.
It's like super soldier serum, basically.
Yeah. So they're going to make trails across the border through the valley, Kyle. You can come as if you like, Logan, but if you're not, just stay here and rest up. And that's what they're going to do. They leave him, and they're all leaving.
Well,
together.
first of all, they shave his beard while he's sleeping
to give him
into
that
mutton chops.
To give him that old
which,
man.
Nathan, I've watched X-Men 2000. I know that you don't get close to Wolverine when he's sleeping.
Yes, they haven't seen it. They weren't born, Kel.
One of them probably has rogue powers, I assume.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a horrible existence for that child, but it's possible.
Look, just because Rogue in those movies never uses Rogue's powers properly doesn't mean that Rogue's powers aren't exceptionally useful, okay?
Okay. I'm thinking of it purely from the perspective of the film.
Yeah, but, from the perspective of the film, they're trying to make super soldiers, right? So
having an asset that can nick the power of any mutant they need to engage in the field could be quite useful.
Also, she can just murder people she touches, right? Remember the first time when she's kissing her boyfriend and she sucks up all his life force?
Absolutely, You're not wrong.
She would make a pretty efficient assassin.
You're not wrong. I eat my words. Feel bad for the kid.
Uh-huh.
But
well, that's good, Nathan. That's the thematic intention of the movie, is that you feel bad for these children. So there you go.
Yes, well done, Nathan. You've interpreted the film correctly. So, Logan's just sort of chilling. He wakes up and everyone's gone. And then he hears screaming and he looks through the little Firewatch binoculars and he sees that the trucks are heading for the kids. Mm-hmm. So this is where he juices up and he gets that tank top on, Kel.
Yep. This is where it becomes a Wolverine movie.
Yeah.
Through and through. It's Logan, it's Hugh Jackman in a tank top running through the woods. This is what you want, right?
Screaming like a madman with the claws out.
I'm just looking through a list here. Has this happened in every movie? Is this an X1? Yes, I think it's snowy woods, but he is in the woods, right?
Yeah, he is in the woods in X1. I honestly, be honest with you, haven't counted, so I could...
It's definitely in The Last Stand. I remember it in The Last Stand.
Yes, it is in The Last Stand.
Because
some would call this Logan's Last Stand.
It is The Last Stand, you're right. It's definitely an X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yep.
For sure. He's not in First Class, so that doesn't count. I think it's in the Wolverine. I don't know if he's in the woods in the Wolverine, actually.
He stays in the woods at the start of the film, but he's not doing a run.
He does stay in the woods at the start of the film, and he does run through that sort of rural village at the end of that movie. I feel like that sort of counts.
Yep. He does a corridor scene with his claws out in Apocalypse.
He does. Yeah. No,
that's fine. He does it all the time. He does it. This is what he's known for.
This is what I like about this movie too, and this is why I say it feels like an X-Men movie, is just because it's an R-rated movie, it doesn't feel like it needs to be ashamed to also be a superhero movie.
Yes,
Which so many, of these R-rated ones, I'm thinking of Joker, because I hate Joker so much, where it's it's embarrassed of being a superhero movie. This movie's not that. This movie still has a bunch of goofy, silly superhero movie stuff, like Logan fighting a clone of himself, right?
Yes. Though I think it tries to dress it up to be quite serious, Kyle. I think it's trying to have its cake and eat it.
It treats it seriously, but it's not like pretending it's something it isn't.
I don't know. I think it's quite heavily trying to get away with it.
I mean, what do you mean get away with it?
Like, it's trying to dress it up to be like, this isn't silly and kooky, And I to the point, Deadpool makes a joke in Deadpool and Wolverine about how it's like Hugh Jackman for the first time in his career isn't embarrassed to be in a superhero movie, and I know he means it as a joke, right? Because those big leather costumes from the earlier films are definitely something. But you can embrace the comic book nature of something, or you can try and disguise it to make it palatable to the themes and the tone that you're trying to portray. Mm-hmm. And I think that this movie, this is trying to fool you into thinking that it isn't ridiculous. You could say, well, it is ridiculous, but the movie's trying to make you think that it isn't. And you could say that's the job of the film, is to make everything feel like it can exist in one continuity within the movie's four walls. But that doesn't mean it's not trying to have its cake and eat it,
I mean, I'm just saying it does it good. It does have its cake and eat it.
Yes, it succeeds. It succeeds.
It's eating the cake. The cake is delicious.
And still has leftover. It left crumbs.
Uh-huh.
Well, Kyle.
But yeah. You know what I like about this final climax is that Logan just fucking shoots Richard E. Grant with a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, he does do that, doesn't he? He does, and then, but he's throughout this movie, we never mentioned that he's carrying around this adamantium bullet, isn't he?
Yes, Chekhov's adamantium bullet.
At the start of the movie. But it subverts your expectations because Laura is the one that fires it at X-24 to save the day. And that man, his head explodes.
It sure does, yeah. So what happens? I mean, it's not what happened in X-Men Origins Wolverine, where it just made a little dent in his head.
Well, I think that wasn't a hollow point bullet.
Oh, okay. That makes all the difference, does it?
Yep, yes, it does. It does. Different bullets.
If you don't use a hollow point,
calibers.
it just erases your memory selectively.
Yeah. Yeah. One can be shot in the head without the shrapnel exploding outwards, you know?
Okay, fine.
Logan is impaled on a tree branch.
Oh yeah, also all of the children gang up to murder Boyd Holbrook.
Yes,
which is
they
pretty
do.
brutal.
It's pretty, it's pretty,
They like mesh him into the ground while electrifying him.
Yep, with trees. It's like the bit in Iron Man where Tony Stark destroys all the terrorists and then leaves the asshole terrorist from earlier in the movie alone and says to the people, he's all yours, as he flies away.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that bit. And I clapped, because Boyd Holbrook's a piece of shit in this film.
He is.
Now, this damage is too much for Wolverine to heal from. How can this wood pass through his adamantium, Kyle? You tell me.
Nathan, don't worry about it.
I'm trying not to. Trying that.
He was shoved through it with so much force, okay?
See the skeleton from Deadpool and Wolverine?
Uh-huh.
It's wearing his suit from the start of the movie and not the tank top from the end.
Is it? That's a continuity error, that is.
It is, Kyle. This is unworkable, actually.
Look, he has an adamantium skeleton, but your skeleton still has holes in it, right? Okay, so if you miss the skeleton, then the wood could go through him.
Yes, but it was a massive log, Kyle.
Well, okay, there's some big gaps in a skeleton. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Okay, Kyle. Okay, you fox shell. Oh, God.
Oh, I'm sorry for defending this widely beloved movie, Nathan.
Your YouTube commenters are right.
Uh-huh,
God,
yeah.
you could
No, my
pay.
YouTube commenters, I'm a chill for Disney and Ubisoft, okay?
Well, who owns Disney
Get
now,
it right.
Kyle? Who owns Disney? Or who does Disney own? Sorry, let me rephrase.
Disney doesn't. They do on Fox now, you're right, sorry.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
You got me. I was trying to wiggle out of it, but you pulled me back
All
in.
ties back around. I want them to see that you are someone who's come onto a show and is being held to account, and you edit
Right,
the show
yeah,
yourself. So you're going to put this in.
Yes, it's true.
You hold yourself to account. I'm even
I
holding a
hold
pen
myself
in my hand right now,
accountable,
Kyle. I feel like a journalist.
But Nathan, unfortunately, I did like the game, so you know what? Well, I'm clearly a shell because I liked the video game.
You don't like you consume the product. You don't like it. Watch it and critique it, but don't enjoy it.
No, it's objectively terrible. You're right.
Exactly. There you go, Kyle. Stanley's not in this film.
Stanley isn't in this film. Stanley should have been in this
Stanley
film.
totally should have been in this movie. He should have been the person that was the bartender and had a scene with Logan where he talks to him about when you're getting on in life, you know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That'd have been great.
You sure you should be drinking that much at your age, sir? Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Logan tells him to fuck off or something.
Yeah.
But so we have this scene here between Laura and Wolverine where Logan isn't quite... Logan knows that he's about to die, but Laura's kind of not really, sold on that idea.
Uh-huh.
But he says to Laura, don't be what they made you, which is a theme that kind of comes through this movie quite a lot with Logan not being what he was designed for. And that's, I think, something that Patrick Stewart
we didn't point out,
said
but
to him
he
at some point.
goes by James again. in
Yes,
this
he
movie.
does.
That's
So
the
in
thing.
my notes here when he dies, I have F, James, Jimmy, Logan, Howlett, Wolverine.
Yes.
Alright?
Uh-huh.
He says, don't be what they made you to Logan, to Laura rather. And then his last words ever are, so this is what it feels like. And he dies feeling like he's in love with someone that he cares more about than his own life for the first time. That's insulting to Jean Grey. And
Look, Jean Grey was just a fling. We all know it, okay?
fling. And
I watched those movies, they have no chemistry. we talked about it the entire time.
that's why he has ghost dreams of her. Now, Kyle, I want to bring this up to you.
Yep.
So he says this is what it feels like and he dies and he's holding Laura's hand. And this is a reference to what Yukio predicts in the Wolverine of saying she has seen his death and he's holding his whole heart in his hand.
I mean, sure, but she was pretty explicit about it was the scene on the surgery table in that movie. But sure,
right.
you can double interpret if you want.
Well, this isn't just my interpretation. James Mangold has said this is his intention when he made this scene in
Oh,
Logan.
sure he did. Yeah, I believe you, James Mangold. That you were envisioning this movie back when you were making the Wolverine. Sure you were.
Listen, I'm not saying that's what he's saying, but when you are making a film and then the prediction that you cast in that movie, whilst yes seems to have been resolved in that film, you're making a sequel where actually that character's going to die for realsies, this totally works. You don't fucking defend the log shit with the adamantine skeleton and then be perfectly hating of this gorgeous moment in this widely beloved superhero movie. Right? This is some great stuff here, right? I think it's really effective and really impactful, actually, right?
Okay, sure.
And then we're having a little eulogy for Logan here. And unlike when Xavier died and Logan had nothing to say over the grave, he was just filled with anger and rage, Laura was able to say some words with all the kids around who all hero worshipped Logan, Wolverine. And she says, "There are no more guns in the valley." Call back to Shane, which has been weaved throughout this movie as a mirror, and also a film that Patrick Stewart directly spoke to Laura about earlier in the movie.
That's all your highbrow nerd shit. The one that's for me is when she takes the cross and turns it into an X-Men cross. It's like, oh, I see what you did there.
Oh, Kyle, why you got to cheapen it? I know you're right. You're literally right. I know that's what it's there for, right? But this is the difference between me and you, right? I like this wanky "there are no more guns in the valley" the thematics shit, and you're like, I like the bit where it became an X because he's an X-Man. You see, because he's an X-Man. You see, that's what it says. It's here for the fans. Now I like that too. Sure, why not? It's very nice. I think.
And then the other one off to become the new X-Men, I assume.
In Canada, they're becoming. What's the Canadian X-Men called? The Canadian
Alpha Flight or something like that.
They're becoming Alpha Flight. Yeah. Now, let's pretend that this was the last X-Men movie that Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman done. Amazing final send-off, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is their No Time to Die, with Daniel Craig dying as James Bond.
I mean, the thing is, like, if this movie hadn't come out, I would also say Days of Future Past is a pretty good send-off to both of these characters.
That's
this too.
That's your happily ever after film.
Yeah. But, like, I mean, that works as a better send-off to all of those old characters. This one is more specific, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't think Patrick Stewart needed a big send-off, because he's not like he's the lead in those films.
No.
Hugh Jackman deserves...
Weirdly enough, this Logan movie is probably where Professor X gets the most to do in any of these movies.
Absolutely. At least...
aside from, like, the first-class movies.
Yeah, except the Patrick Stewart variant, yeah. But yeah, that's it. Kyle, that's Logan.
Yeah, that's Logan. It's a good movie. Hot take.
Hot take, yeah. The shill and the wanky critic, we both like it.
But we're not true fans, Nathan.
No,
so,
I've never read Old Man Logan.
No, this movie's woke because it replaces Wolverine with a woman, so...
You fucking ruined it, Kyle. I'm not watching it again now. The future is now old man. Look at me, a woman. I have 2 claws instead of 3.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's a good movie. But Nathan, would you like to know what we're doing next week?
This could have been it. I'm fine. No, I don't want to know. Yeah, sure. Tell me, what are we watching next week, Kyle?
Well, continuing our railroad of emotions, next week we're doing Deadpool 2.
Oh, goody gumdrops. I really thought we were doing Dark Phoenix next. But listen, last time I said that, I was fucking wrong, but I blackmailed her, gaslit Kyle into believing I was right. So next week we're doing Deadpool 2. Crazy. Okay, that'll be... I've not watched Deadpool 2 since cinema.
It's been a long time since I watched it too. I have seen it before, but yeah, I know Cable's in it because Deadpool told me that last week.
Yeah, he did tell us that last week in the first Spoilers Day off post-credit.
Yeah, we're closing in on the end of the X universe here.
Yeah, we are. We'll be revealing our next show in quick succession. Absolutely. Can't wait for you all to hear about that.
I should start working on the branding for that.
Yeah, we're still workshopping it all. But Kyle, why don't you sing us out? Where can we find you online?
People can, of course, find me at Kyle the Scot on YouTube, where I do video essays and game critiques. As per, I'm working through the Assassin's Creed and will be for the foreseeable future of this podcast. But yeah, that's been fun. That's mostly where you can find me. Nathan, where can the people find you?
The people can find me, as always, on social media hosting platforms such as Twitter, Blue Sky, Mastodon. Hive seems to have gone dormant again at the moment. I'm sorry for giving all our listeners hope that I'd be returning to Hive. And Instagram. I'll have in my...
This is the true dark future.
Yeah. But I also occasionally Kyle's comment sections, as always. That was a pen you heard drop on the floor there. Right, Kyle, thank you very much for having us. Thanks for hosting.
Hang on. The people would like to hear that we also have a huge backlog of episodes they can listen to.
Of course.
Where we went through all of the Snyderverse. We have 20 episodes of that. We, of course, have Name Not Included, which we don't do anymore, but that was our podcast where we just talked about random nonsense. And then, we have now over 13 episodes of X-Men movies to go through, plus some others, like Fan Four Steak, everyone's favourite.
This is probably becoming a little bit of a mess, but we actually will be maybe returning to enter the DCEU soon, enter the Snyderverse.
That's true, because we have a couple projects coming out that are DC related.
Kyle sounds utterly distraught at this.
Look, let me just see. I've seen the early reviews for the Penguin show, and it's not looking great.
I've heard the early reviews for the Penguin say it's really good, Kyle. What are you on about? Is Joker 2 that I've heard is a little bit hit or miss?
Well, I mean, I expected Joker 2 to be a shit show in the first place, so... No, really, I've heard mixed things about the Penguin show, okay?
Well, that's something we can talk about when we do it, but...
Yeah.
You want to sing us out this week?
Yes, well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next week for Deadpool 2.